Yo, what's up? It's your boy Currency 365. Hope you guys are doing well. Legends never die, they stay in our hearts. If you want to support us, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also you can come down here and hit the join button under the video or in our channel section. And you can also join our Patreon, patreon.com/currency365. And we also have Cash App and also PayPal for support if you want to sow some seeds. Peace out. God bless. Enjoy the video and keep the movement going. Legends. Bye.
So that's, that's how it works. United States, we don't screw around. Everybody gets the same currency. Everybody, has should have access to capital. But anyways, let me go into the next section. So here's the thing, you guys, real quick. I told you guys I'd be brutally honest if I see anything like this that comes up, and there's no reason for me to apologize because I have no control over this or anything like that. But if it's super negative or anything like that, I do apologize because it sucks. I had a big long conversation with Bob about it, and it's like, look, we have to do this because we made that commitment, and so that's where we're at. So let me shift gears here. All right, not going anywhere, by the way, not shutting the channel down or anything like that. We'll just watch. It's all about policy watch, right? Sometimes we're wrong at what we see and we interpret or whatever. Most of the time we're right. So let me get into this because this has to do with what the same situation. So this is from emails again. People asking me, has Saudi Arabia ditched the U.S. dollar? And the answer is flat out no. And they're not going to ditch the U.S. dollar. All right. So Saudi Arabia has not ditched the U.S. dollar. This claim appears to be based on misinformation and exaggerated reports circulating recently. Here are the key facts. This is the email that I sent to a guy, Scott. So I'm just reading it out to you. Saudi Arabia continues to trade oil in U.S. dollars, contrary to rumors suggesting otherwise. The recent buzz about Saudi Arabia abandoning the dollar is largely fueled by speculation from various groups, including crypto enthusiasts and gold advocates and conspiracy theorists, as well as social media activity. While Saudi Arabia has started negotiations to accept other currencies alongside the U.S. dollar for oil transactions, particularly with China using the yuan, this does not equate ditching the dollar. The concept of a formal petrodollar agreement with an expiration date is inaccurate. There is no known formal treaty or contract between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia regarding currency use in oil trades. And I keep telling people that from you guys, for 26 years before I ever got into the right, telling us like there is no agreement for the 1 billionth time between the United States. There's nothing written. What we did, you guys, is we invited them into our markets. If you use the U.S. dollar, we'll help you expand your markets, and we'll also give you military equipment. It gave us a position in an OPEC country. It expanded our markets, and it also helped the supply times of velocity of the U.S. dollar. I mean, we kicked and took names. Saudi Arabia, if they stop using the U.S. dollar, that means they don't have access to the U.S. markets. They're not going to do that. That's where their wealth is at. Their wealth is in the West, ladies and gentlemen. They're making money selling energy in Saudi Arabia, but they've invested in the West. That's where their major wealth comes from. All right. So Saudi Arabia, the royal family, they get their wealth from the religious sites that those families own, Mecca, and they billions of dollars each year. They get money off that. They control that religion. Period. End of story. All right. That's where they get their main money. Second is that, or their I shouldn't say main money because they make a lot more selling energy, but that's where they get their power and their money. And then, the second is oil. where they're one of the biggest producers on the planet. Well, the third leg in this whole thing is they're investing internationally, and most of it's in the West. Most of it's in Western Europe and the United States. And that's because of their use of the US dollar. And how do they get the US dollar? They sell energy in US dollars. That's how they get it. And so that's how that relationship works. So they haven't gotten out. There was no official agreement or anywhere, and they're not going to get out. Will they do an agreement with China to use the yuan? Probably, because they want to be part of that market. And China is lacking US dollars right now. So they're going to benefit from each other, but it's not a strike against the supply times velocity of the US dollar. Now think about what I just said. China is lacking US dollars. So Saudi Arabia wants to do business with China. And they prefer that China uses US dollars. They can, because China's not getting as many US dollars as they used to. So they're forced to use the yuan, and Saudi Arabia is forced to accept the yuan. Now, remember, those are sanctions against China. Same thing with Russia. Those are sanctions against. So it's not like they're attacking us like, you know what, we're not going to use the US dollar. No, we put sanctions on them. They're getting less US dollars. It's imperative that you guys understand this, because these crypto creeps out there and these gold bugs, they're so full of it, you guys. It's unbelievable. Like they get away with so much. That is their marketing, is fear. That's it. That's all it is. It's nothing but their number one marketing strategy is fear. It has nothing to do with math or nothing to do with real logic. It has nothing to do with real agreements or how real economies work. I've even, people have sent me emails saying, I go on YouTube, but I'll never throw these guys' names out because I don't want to promote them in any way, shape, or form, even in a negative light. Talking about how, the United States declined to sign a agreement with Saudi Arabia using the US dollar. There was no such proposal out there. We don't need anything like that. Either you use it or you don't. There's no contract. It's just complete lies. You guys, there's no sin in being wrong. You get information, you make a mistake, or you make a misstatement. I've done it. I made a mistake. I had a guy come at me. Some of you probably read it. The Turkey, they revalued their currency at 8%. When it was 8%, they actually redenominated. But I always talk about the policy up to that point. Well, I didn't have the information in front of me that day, and I said 9%. It's just, around there, 9%. And so I started getting emails from this guy saying, what a liar, what, you're totally off. It was 8%. This is the type of that I'm talking about. All right. So you have that type of talk. You have that type of, moronic talk or accusations or just an attack. And then you out there, what's worse than all of that is all this misinformation on how things work or how things should be done or whatever. And none of it's true. The US dollar is stronger now than it ever has been. And that's just a simple truth. More countries are using the US dollar now than there ever has been. China and Russia are doing everything they can to get the US dollar. So let me finish this part. Saudi Arabia has been gradually diversifying its currency usage in international trade, but this is part of a broader trend rather than a sudden shift away from the dollar. The Saudi Real is still pegged to the US dollar, indicating continued strong ties to the American currency. While Saudi Arabia is exploring closer relations with countries like Russia, Iran, China, which may involve some non-dollar transaction, this does not signify a complete abandonment of the US dollar. And all three of those countries, they all have the exact same problem. They've been sanctioned, and they don't have as many US dollars. So even if they wanted to do business in US dollars, they can't. We've sanctioned them. We financially sanctioned them. All right. So it's you guys, it's our strategy. It's not, that it's people out there who are throwing this stuff out there is completely reverse. You have the BRICS and It's the most biggest organization on the planet. Their goal was to try to encompass these this and there's nothing wrong with it, these trade agreements, and have 40% of the world's GDP with the population that these countries have and the trade. But guess what? These guys don't innovate. They don't, the money was always coming from the West. What was China like before they started doing business with the United States, ladies and gentlemen? With a capital S, all right? And so, you know, people don't realize that's where the money is coming from. It's still coming from the West. Innovation is still coming from the West. It's not coming from Brazil. It's not coming from Argentina, even though I'm proud that Argentina is attaching itself to the US dollar and shoring up its social spending. I'm proud of them for doing that. But what's the key to the success? The US dollar. What's the key to the US dollar? It's the American market. It's our economy. That's what's backing up the US dollar. All right. So I just literally about an hour before I started talking to Bob about this, wanted to do an audio. I just gave a talk on how the Iberian financial system, the Catholic financial system, you had Portuguese and Spain, and then how it grew, how they built their banking system off the financial system and the state, or the financial system and the church. All right. And so what did they do? You have the Portuguese that went around the Cape of Good Hope in Africa and went to India, went to, made it all the way to the Far East. And it bypassed the Ottoman Empire. And so they became the trade empire on the planet at that time. What did Spain do? Spain, through Christopher Columbus, said, hey, we're going to go all the way west. And that's how they accidentally discovered the New World. But people don't realize that they made so much money. They enslaved all those people. They took over those empires, and they had nothing but precious metals and everything you can think of coming to Spain. Okay, cool. That's great. Fantastic. Let's say if there's no atrocities done. All right. But they flooded the market with so much silver that it devalued. People think that if a currency is attached to one thing, and this is what they're missing. They think, well, we got to attach our currency to gold. No. Currencies that have been attached to gold have lost their value. Either there's not enough gold out there, or there's too much commodities out there. One way or the other. Same thing with the silver. You have these morons that's like, well, no, you just changed the note count. It's like, okay, well, now we're back into the fiat currency argument again, because, instead of using the actual silver coin, you got to use paper coin that represents that silver coin, or paper that represents that silver coin, and people can screw with it. So you're never going to be happy. It's just this argument goes around and around and around, and people get stuck on it. The reality is that Spain, with all the wealth that they pulled from the New World, went broke because of two things. One, that they put so much silver out there that it devalued. Everybody had it. It was all over the place. It didn't mean anything. And then you had the Protestant Reformation, where they started creating a completely different banking system. The one that these guys, South and Eastern Europeans, are spout today, where all the conspiracies came from. It's not a closed banking system. And how that grew. And then how the Dutch captured probably 75% of the world's trade. And then the English finally took over. Then the United States took over. But it's based on that financial system. So going back, if if they don't start making the right decision, their currency's not gonna make it. It's just not gonna make it. They're gonna be forced to use more US dollars, because the United States will put more and more sanctions on them if they don't. And that's gonna devalue their currency even more. And so that's how that works, you guys. So I bring up Turkey, I bring up China, I bring up, these sanctions, all that stuff, to give you guys an idea of how it's working. It's not just one spot. It's not isolated with Iraq. It's happening everywhere. But it's being interpreted opposite. It's like, oh, look, the United States is getting hurt. Russia's not using US dollar. No, it's opposite. We've punished them. He used, in this article, he specifically used the word punishment. Underline. They're being punished. Their local currency is being punished, and they're going to be forced to use the US dollar locally in their economies. And they're going to keep the sanctions that they have on their banks on the way that they trade the US dollar, I should say trade, but use the US currency and the Iraqi dinar. Those sanctions are not going to be lifted. And it's because their involvement with Iran and the influence from the Sunni, the other sect. All right. That's just the reality. That's where we're at. But Saudi Arabia is not ditching the US dollar. Nobody is ditching the US dollar. If a country is not using the US dollar, or their dollar supply has, it shrank, it's because of sanctions. That's it. And that can be proven in a court of law, by the way. Everybody who wants to do trade or whatever tries to get the US dollar. The minute that they don't have access to the US dollar for sanctions, because of sanctions, they start saying, well, we wanted to use our own currency anyways. Yeah, cool. You can say that. Go right ahead. But yeah, you're going to be limited no matter what. You're going to be completely limited. So the US dollar is still dominant. It still controls 80% of the world's international trade. We're sanctioning people who are trying to eliminate that or take over. And they're suffering. And unfortunately, right now, that's where Iraq is at. So, you guys, I'm not wrong, because this is, I talked about this. I talked that there could be something that's coming down the road here. The signal is they're having conversations of Hezbollah relocating in Iraq. It's not just that; it's the idea that they would even think about it, which means that they're they don't get it, or they're not going to be pro-West. Okay, that's cool. You know what? They have the liberty to choose that, you guys. They do. And I don't mean that in a diabolical way. They don't want to be part of our system, fine. But we're going to make sure you don't compete against us. And if you do, it's going to be minimal. And we have a right to do that, because for the last 10,000 years, that's how the world has worked. And, we're not going to be the ones that stop it. Nobody's going to stop that. So we have a right to protect our trade, our financial system, the US dollar. And if somebody's against us, we have a right to compete against them. And so that's exactly what we're doing. That's all it is. Nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. So here's what I would suggest for you guys. I'm not getting out of the currency. I'll wait it out. I'll wait it out. But right now I am neutral. This is not positive at all. We'll have to sit back and watch what the CBI says, how they're going to react to it, how they're, how are they going to add value to the currency or, being sanctioned the way that this guy's talking, or being punished. And there's no answers right now. We'll just simply have to wait. We just simply have to wait. And with this, in closing, you guys, like I said, I promised you that whatever comes along, I'll report it. So if it changes, I'll no problem, I'll report it. Or if I see a pathway, that they're going to add value to the currency. And so I know people are going to email me saying, hey, wouldn't they revalue their currency right now? Wouldn't this force them to do it? No. They could revalue their currency. They've been able to revalue their currency anytime. The key is their note count. This is what sucks. They could have did it 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Reduce their note count. But once they reduce that note count and they get it up to its value, if they're not situated in the markets correctly, it's going to lose its value, and people are going to lose its confidence in that currency, and then it's done for. They'll never be able to get it back. They'll probably have to redenominate. That's what they're worried about. The reason they're they're not pushing it too fast. And they never have, is because they're making so much money in U.S. dollars. It's not like they're going broke. Unfortunately for the average citizen out there, they're eating it. But the leaders in that region about us people, they never have and they never will. By the way, they think it's their God-given right to shoulder everybody. So that's that. That's the reality of it, and it sucks to say, but that's the reality of it. But again, my promise to you one more time is that whatever comes along, that's what I'm going to report. If I see something and I can get out where it's negative and I want to get out, that's exactly what I'll report to you guys. So here's the thing, you guys. Like I said, I'm going to be doing an audio next on the foundations of why I got in this investment and the principle. None of that has changed, and it won't. It will not change. All right, but the policy, what Iraq is doing, their attitude right now, going pro Iran, and that gentleman's agreement between the Sunni and Shia is starting to change, and that's not good. End of story. That is not good. So with that, I'm going to close. But I know where people are going to be at. I know people are going to be disappointed, whatever, or anything like that. Just, be brave, move along. Don't get rid of your dinar. This isn't a call that it's not going to happen or anything like that. It's just that their policy has changed for the very first time since we've been in this investment, or I should say, the speculation together. It's incorrect for me to say investment. It's speculation. That the policy is going to change on either side of the aisle, whether it's Iraq or the United States. Iraq is going to be punished if they keep moving forward here, and that is not good. That's not positive for us. So with that, you guys, until the next audio, if you guys send me enough questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. But that's where we're at. And anyways, thanks for listening, you guys. God bless. Thanks all.